Mike Felicio from Solo Mode Games. Today I'm going to be doing a special Kickstarter preview playthrough of Herbaceous Sprouts, the dice game version of the card game you may be familiar with, Herbaceous. In Herbaceous Sprouts, you're doing some similar things that you were doing in the card game. You're collecting sets of herbs and trying to plant them into a community garden. But I think you'll see from our playthrough that there's a bit more going on in the dice game version, which is not always what you see. A lot of times the dice game version of an original game is going to be a little bit of a pared down version. In Herbaceous Sprouts, it takes the mechanics of Herbaceous the card game and ramps them up a bit. That being said, why don't we head on over to the table and take a look. Okay, here we have most of the setup for the solo game of Herbaceous Sprouts. This solo variant is known as the Master Gardener, and in this variant we're going to be playing against a rival gardener and trying to have a more beautiful and fulfilling garden. This is the community garden. The main game board is known as the community garden. If you've played Herbaceous the card game, you'll see a lot of similarities. There obviously is a theme similarity and art similarity, but there's also some other aspects of it, like having a community garden that you see between the card game and in the dice game as well, but there are also some very significant differences, and I'll try to point those out as we go on. Right here, I've got my kind of player card, which is known as the wheelbarrow. It's got 7 spots for, theoretically, up to 7 dice. You may not always have that many dice, but you could potentially have more. You just can never keep more than 7 at a particular phase of your turn. So that's my little player board. It has some nice iconography that tells me what some of the tool cards can do. This is the tool deck. Right here, we're going to have a spot for 3 cards that's called the tool shed. We've got our lovely, refreshing, I should say, glass of lemonade here that we can potentially get, or the rival gardener could potentially get it as well. Just giving a brief overview of how the game works. The main mechanic, besides drafting of dice, is going to be a set collection mechanic, and you have 4 distinct areas in the community garden. And to be able to plant a seed in one of these areas of the garden, you have to fulfill a particular type of set collecting. And the iconography here will tell you. So in this upper left quadrant of the community garden, you need to have the same types of herbs. And you've got 5 different types of herbs in the game. You've got a little cheat sheet card here to remind you which are which. Unless you are a master gardener already, you probably know just from the picture, but you've got tarragon and rosemary, bay, lavender, and saffron. You also have a flower garden over here, which I'll talk about in a moment. So in this upper left quadrant, you're looking for the same types of herbs. So for example, if you turned in 3 rosemary, you could potentially claim the spot. If it hasn't been claimed already, you'd put your seed there, and at the end of the game, you'd get the points denoted. In this case, 4 points. In this portion of the community garden, you're looking for dissimilar herbs, and so you could have 5, because there are 5. So if you were able to turn in a tarragon, rosemary, bay, lavender, and saffron, and you were the first to do so, you could place a seed token there and get 8 points at the end of the game. If you are already there, you or the rival could be the next one there and you'll only get 6 points. Over here, what you've got are different pairs. And so if you have 3 different pairs of herbs, you'd be able to go in this area, 2 different pairs of herbs or 1 different pair of herbs. Over here is your flower garden, and there are 3 types of flowers. This is something that is different from the card game. You didn't have this in the card game. Here, you've got the peony, and I hope I'm pronouncing that right, especially since I believe that's the state flower of my current state of residence, Indiana. But you have 3 spots where you can plant peonies there, 4, 3, and 2 points. Here you've got Black-Eyed Susan, again, 3 spots for that, and then you've got Forget-Me-Nots, 3 spots for that, and I'll explain how those go as we get started, okay? To complete the setup, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take 2 random, I've got a dice bag here. These are different types of dice, and I should mention from the get-go that these are prototype components. Much of the artwork has been finalized, but The board is not going to be an accordion style board like this. You're not going to have these kind of extra bars at the end. That's a prototype. And the dice are going to be much more finished and a little bit more impressive, although these are great for prototype components, but they're going to be custom dice. So I take 2 dice randomly from the bag and I roll those, and these are going to go on to my wheelbarrow. So I've got a tarragon and I've got a saffron to start off. All right. So what you do at the beginning of every phase is prepare the tool shed. So we're going to set up for our first turn here, and I'm going to prepare the tool shed. You're going to take out a number of cards plus 1 for the number of players, and in the Master Gardener variant we are simulating a 2-player game, so that means that every round we're going to deal out 3 cards. This deck has been randomized and 10 random cards have been removed from it. In a 4-player game, you've got all 40 cards that you'd use. In the solo game, or in the 2-player game as well, you've got 30 cards, which means 10 rounds of 3 cards. So the game will end when this deck runs out. So I prepare the tool shed by turning over the top 3 cards, and all of the cards are going to have different pieces of information on them. At the top, if there are any seed dice to be added, they'll be denoted at the top. So this first card, I'll be placing 1 seed die here. Then it's got potentially an action that could be on the card, and also potentially has a pot that you could save as a seed. And I'll explain that as we go on. The little banner here at the bottom of the card is going to take effect for the solo variant as well. So not every card is going to have a space for dice, although in this first round, it does. So first card, I roll and we get ourselves a bay. Second card, I'm going to get 3 dice randomly out of the bag here. We've got a couple of tarragons and a lavender. And then the third card, we've got ourselves a peony. All right, double peony going on there. All right, so this is the beginning of the first round. We're all completely set up, and I'm getting ready to take my first turn as the Master Gardener. All right, so here we go. All right, so the way the solo game works is that you alternate turns playing as either the Master Gardener or the Assistant Gardener, and we start off as the Master Gardener. So the first thing you do on every Master Gardener turn is you take 1 seed die out of the bag, you roll it and you add it to your wheelbarrow. So right now I'm already starting off with 3 different types of herbs in my wheelbarrow. I've got a tarragon, a saffron, and a lavender. And so I could be looking at the cards up here to determine what might I want to add. Well, I've got some options. If I were to take this card, I would be adding a bay and a rosemary to my wheelbarrow, and I'll explain how in a moment. And I'd already be able to put a seed in the top spot of the different herbs garden. So that's a great option for me. That's 8 points right there. I have another option, and I would get a potential tool here that I will not actually use, but I'll explain. Here, I could potentially be setting myself up for this garden where you have the same types of herbs, because I'd have 3 tarragon after I drew those. Or here, I could start saving up flowers, which I could then potentially use to plant into the flower garden. However, to be able to plant in the flower garden, you need a trowel. Here's a trowel, but no flowers to go with it. So what I do is I choose one of these 3 cards and I take the corresponding die. So I think my best bet is to take this card. I place the bay leaf on my wheelbarrow, and now I have the option to utilize this tool, which in this case are the gardener's gloves, which allow me to re-roll any 1 die if I choose to. Well, I don't want to re-roll any of these dice because they are exactly like I like. When you've got this little pot here, what you then do is you can place it under your card, and now it's like having another symbol, another herb in your wheelbarrow, but it doesn't count towards your maximum. So you can have 7 dice plus any number of seed cards down here. All right. Now that I've done this, what I have to do is I have to look at the other 2 cards up here and place a rival token in the denoted area. So what this says is that, I'll go ahead and take the dice off there. They're going to actually get returned to the bag here. this says that on the part of the community garden with all the same herbs, I have to take up the 3 spot. So that's right here. And so now they're going to score, the AI is going to score 4 points at the end of the game. All right, that gets discarded. This one has the forget-me-not area of the flower garden in the 3-point spot, so that gets taken up. That goes back in the bag, and this goes away. All right. Now, actually, what I should have done, just to make sure I'm keeping the order of operations straight here, and this is actually important, is I technically take my turn before I deal with those rival tokens. And let's say that I wanted to place here. That's why it would be important. And I played that incorrectly, but just know that you take your turn first, which means potentially putting out a seed token. So my order of operations was off on there, but hopefully I'll remember and make that clear. So I'm going to take my turn, and you don't have to place any tokens, and you can place multiple tokens if you've got the herbs to do so. So what I've got right here are 5 different herbs, okay, including this card. So I'm going to place into the higher point value, of course. These all go away, back into the bag, and this gets discarded. And then that's when I should have placed the rival tokens. So you can see why that might matter, because let's say, for example, one of those cards had me covering this up. Obviously, I want to get my seed tokens out there first, okay? So once you've done that, then you flip the card over, and now it's the first assistant gardener's turn, and you'll see that this one works a little bit differently. But what doesn't change is that the first thing we do is prepare the tool shed. So let's go for round 2 here. We've got a watering can, we've got a glove, and we've got a trowel and another tool. So I'm going to go ahead and roll the dice here. We've got Black-Eyed Susan and a bay leaf. We've got a rosemary. And we've got another rosemary and another bay leaf. All right. Now you may be wondering at this point, what does that delicious, delicious glass of lemonade have to do with anything? This card. Well, this is a potential extra 2 points at the end of the game, and the way that you claim this card is that the first player, either myself or the rival, to get at least 1 token into all 4 of the areas of the community garden will get that card. Now, the AI already has a jump up on me because they're in 2 different spots. I'm only in 1, and that's a bummer. So I have to keep that in mind. Okay, so unlike in the Master Gardener's turn, I don't go first here. What's going to happen is that we've got this deck of 9 rivals cards here. We're going to turn over the top card. What it's going to do is it is going to choose one of these 3 cards. It's going to basically burn that card. It's going to go away so that I can't choose it, and it's going to place 1 rival token in the card. So it's kind of a little bit of a trade-off. In the Master Gardener turn, you're getting first shot, but the rival is potentially placing 2 seed tokens. On the Assistant Gardener turn, they're taking the first shot, but they're only putting out potentially 1 seed token. If it tells you to put a rival token in a place where there already is a token, you just ignore it. So let's look at our first Assistant Gardener card here, or the AI card. So this is burning the second card. All right, so this card is going to go away, this die is going to go away, and we're going to place a rival token in the 4 spot of the forget-me-not. So he's taking charge of this area. Now, the other thing that happens is that this card, not this card gets discarded. This card, the rival card, gets placed under my wheelbarrow as one of a potential either herbs or, in this case, flower for me, the peony card, okay? Now, I get a choice of these other 2 cards. I don't get to draw a die like I do on the Master Gardener turn. I just have to choose from here. So this would be nice because it has a trowel and it would allow me to plant this peony right now. It would also allow me, through the use of this tool, to change any one die face to another die face if I choose to do so. So I am going to go ahead and take this card. I will take these 2 dice. I will utilize this trowel, all right? And I'm going to see if I want to change one die to another, and I probably want to, just to kind of get a pair. Although I can try to keep them as separates in case I want to keep going into this, but I'd like to get into this part of the garden so that I can hopefully go for that glass of lemonade. So first thing I'm going to do is use my trowel to plant this peony, all right, which means I'm going to discard this card. I'll just kind of keep this up here, and I'll be able to place a card into the peony or a token, which will give me 4 points at the end of the game. All right, now I have to choose, do I want to use this power? All right, do I want to use this power and change one die face to any other die face? This is called the market package. There's two types of market package. You've got a seed exchange, which will give you one particular face to switch into another, or this one, which is more open-ended, which is gardener's choice. Turn one seed die to any other face on that die. So do I want to do that? I think I do. I'm going to go ahead and I can either change this rose or lavender into a bay, or this bay into a lavender. Let's go ahead and go with lavender. All right, so I changed that into a lavender. Now, I could have changed this into a trowel if I wanted to, but I'm going to go ahead and do that. This is going to get discarded, and then we are going to flip this card over, and we're back to our second Master Gardener turn, the third actual turn of the game. All right, here we go, round 3. Let's prepare the tool shed. Now this is an example of a card that does not, two examples of cards that don't have dice on them. On these cards, what you're going to do is you're going to draw 2 dice out of the bag, roll them and take them, and then you'll have up to 3 re-rolls, and it could be a single die rolled 3 times, or different dice rolled up to 1 time, 3 different dice rolled up to 1 time each. So this is an interesting option for me. The other option I've got is once these dice come out, I can switch potentially a saffron face to any other face if there is a saffron die up there. So let's go ahead and fill that last card because it's the only one that has dice showing. So, all right, well, we do have a lavender there. We also have a tarragon, and we've got a rosemary. So my question for myself now is, since I've got the first turn, well, first thing I'm going to do before I even choose that is I'm going to take a die out for me, roll it, and I got myself a rosemary. It would have been nice to get a lavender, but was not to be. Or also might have been nice to get a saffron, because then I could have used this card by taking, this card. Now, I'm still leaning towards taking that card because I have a guaranteed lavender on there. However, that doesn't get me here. I need to have 4 lavenders to be able to get this. So do I have a better chance of drawing 2 dice and re-rolling 3 times? The other thing I want to look at is, what are the places that I'm leaving? Now, if I don't choose this card, the rival is going to take this high spot, this 12-point spot in the all the same. So I think that really makes my decision for me. I think I have to take this card, because if I don't, that's giving the rival 12 points at the end of the game, and I don't think I want to give it that type of help. So what I'm going to do is take this card. I cannot use, unfortunately, that ability because I don't have a saffron die showing, but such is life. All right. Now, getting the order of operation correct, I take my turn first before I put out the rival token. So I've got a couple of options here, actually. I could go, actually I don't have a couple of options. I have one option really that I think I want to use. I can't go here to the all alike because I need 4 and I only have 3. But what I can do is go here where it's different pairs. So I've got a pair of lavender and I've got a pair of rosemary, and that also is going to help me towards the lemonade glass because no one has gone into this part of the community garden. So I think I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'll do 2 different pairs. That gets me 6 points at the end of the game. These are going to go back in the bag. I still have 5 spots available on my wheelbarrow, and now the AI is going to get the remaining spots, which is going to be the 3-point spot on the peony and the 2 point, or not the 2 point, but the last 2 spot on the dissimilar. And so, dissimilar pairs. So if I hadn't gone there, they would have gotten 6 points. Instead, they're getting 4. But unfortunately, one thing I really need to be careful of is this area here. If the AI can get into this part of the community garden before I can get into this part of the community garden, they're going to get the lemonade. And I don't want that. I want the lemonade. It looks so refreshing and delicious. No? Yes. Okay. So now we flip over the Master Gardener card and we get to the Assistant Gardener, and let's prepare our tool shed. 3 more. Here we've got just 3 dice. Here we've got 1 die with some gloves and a bay leaf in the pot and 3 dice. All right. Now I'm not going to have the benefit of picking first here, so all right, so now we've got ourselves Black-Eyed Susan, we've got some rosemary, and we've got some lavender. Here we've got some tarragon. Making sure I'm getting all parts of the bag here. And here we've got a Black-Eyed Susan, a lavender, and a saffron. All right. All right, with this being the Assistant Gardener's turn, we're going to flip over the rival card, and the 3rd card is going to be the one that is taken, and that spot is going to be claimed by the AI opponent. And so this card goes away. All right. They're going to place a token in the number 2 spot of the Black-Eyed Susan, which works out well for me because it does not claim him the lemonade card. If actually none of these cards would have given it to him, so that's great. And I get this trowel to place under my wheelbarrow. So now I've got these 2 options. This would be nice because it would allow me to plant into this 4 spot of the Black-Eyed Susan by using this trowel. There's no way I can get into here, unfortunately, because I have to have 4 alike herbs, and right now I'm just not getting there. So I think my best bet is to go here, to take these dice, these seed dice. This is going to get, those both get, actually all of this is going to get discarded. All right, and now I can place out my dice if there are any I want to, and I think I do want to plant that Black-Eyed Susan by turning in my trowel card. All right, now I'm going to put a sprout into my, or seed I should say, into the 4 spot of the Black-Eyed Susan part there, and there's nowhere else I can plant at this point. I have no other things that are available to me, so I've got 3 open spots there. Now we're going to flip over to the Master Gardener side, and let's prepare our tool shed. We've got a trowel and 3 dice, a trowel and 3 dice, 1 die, gardening gloves, and some saffron. All right, so we've got some lavender, we've got some tarragon, and we've got some rosemary. Now, I haven't seen this yet, but there are special powers that could come up on these dice as well. There's reroll powers, and there's trowels as well, but none of them have come up yet. If they do, I'll certainly point it out, and if they don't, I'll try to remember to show you at the end of the video. All right, and there we've got a rosemary. All right, this being the Master Gardener spot, I go ahead and take a die randomly from the bag, I roll it, and I've got myself a rosemary. Well, I've only got 2 open spots on my wheelbarrow. Now, I could take 3, but I would have to discard 1 before I could perform any tool actions. So I wouldn't be able to, let's say for example, this had 3 dice and gloves. I couldn't re-roll 8 dice. I would have to get down to 7 dice before I could re-roll one of those 8 dice. All right, I'd love to get in here because, let's see, will any of these get, if the rival goes into the different spot, so if the rival goes here, they're going to get the lemonade. So I really don't want the rival to go here. So I think that kind of answers my question. I'm going to go here unless I can find a way to get myself in here. The only thing is if I take a risk and I go for this card and I take this with the 1 rosemary, that would give me 3 rosemary and 1 reroll. I think that's a pretty risky proposition. I think my better bet is to go here. Yeah, I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go here. It's going to waste the trowel, but it's going to mean that they're not going to be placing in this spot. Oh wait, no. I've got that backwards. This is the card I have to take. This is the card. Oh wait, no. I'm getting myself confused. I want to go here. They want to go here. So I do need to take this card. Okay, so sorry about that. My hemming and hawing. I've got these 3 dice. I'm going to go ahead and discard down. I'm going to discard this tarragon, so I'm at 7 before I could potentially use the tool. However, I'm not actually going to be using the tool, which is the trowel, because I don't have any flowers to do so. All right, now I can take my turn. At this point, really, I'm kind of in a rough spot because, well, here's what I can do. I can choose to keep either the lavender or the rosemary and use the other to go towards this different spot. So I think that's what I might do. I think what I'll do is I'll keep the rosemaries, or at least, yeah, I'll keep at least 2 of the rosemaries. I will spend a lavender and a tarragon and a rose. Well, I could actually just go here and keep these. That might be a way to go. All right, I'm going to take a risk there. I'm going to get rid of these 2. Oops, I want to put mine in there. 2 different. All right, those are going to go away. And now they're going to place into the 4 spot, which they cannot, of the forget-me-not that's already been taken, and the 5 spot of the all alike, which is right here. That's 9 points for them. That's big points. That may not have been a great play by me, honestly, but we'll find out. We still have the lemonade card in play, which is really, it's only 2 points. I'm probably being stubborn, but I really want the lemonade. So now I flip that over and we get ourselves ready for the next turn. All right, let's see if my single-minded obsessive focus on the lemonade pays off. Here we go, let's prepare the tool shed. We've got 3 dice. Oh, that could be good. 2 dice and 3 rerolls, 2 dice and 3 rerolls. All right, well, that's good. Unfortunately, I don't get first shot at any of those. Although it looks like, yeah, if when I flip this card over, if the AI gets that second card, they're going to get the lemonade, because that's this spot here. All right, so let's hope. All right, so we've got a bay leaf, we've got a saffron, and we've got a rosemary. We've got a rosemary and a tarragon, and no dice go there. So I'm really, really, really hoping that this card is not going to have the second card burned. It doesn't. I lucked out. This first card's going to go away, and that card, that spot is already taken. That's the 4-point spot of the peony. All right, so that goes away. I lucked out there. This is going to go here, and now I've got a forget-me-not in my wheelbarrow. No trowel at this point. So now I've got to ask myself, do I want to take these dice and re-roll up to 3 times any one die? Or do I want to take 2 random out of the bag and re-roll up to 3 times? I think I'm going to go for this one because I'd rather get a rosemary at this point. So I'm going to go ahead and take 2 dice out of the bag, roll them, and hope that one of them comes up a rosemary. It did not. I've got a tarragon and I've got a forget-me-not. But I do have 3 re-rolls. Okay, so let's re-roll this forget-me-not and try to get ourselves a rosemary. Hey, I got it on the first go. And I think what I'm going to do is, why not roll this tarragon and try to get another one? Because that would be an extra 2 points. I've got 2 shots at it, and I got it. Look at that. That lucked out for me. So I now am going to turn in these 5 rosemary. That's going to put me here, get me 7 points, and the oh so coveted lemonade card. I now have 1 token in every spot of the community garden. That is fantastic. All right, and I'll keep these 2 lavenders for the next round. Potentially, this card gets discarded. We flip it over. We're back to the Master Gardener, and we're getting close to the end of the game. Let's prepare the tool shed here, shall we? 3 dice and a trowel, 1 die, glove, and a pot. 1 die, a glove, and a pot with a black-eyed Susan. The other one has a tarragon. So, 3 dice. All right, we've got ourselves a lavender, we've got a saffron, and we've got a rosemary. I'll tell you what, I'm going to become an expert in herbs just by recognizing these here. We've got ourselves a bay leaf, and we've got ourselves, I'm going to re-roll that, it was kind of on the edge, and we've got ourselves a saffron. Just so I can show you, I'm going to remember this is a bay leaf. You can see that this die here actually has a plus glove symbol on it. What that means is if that were to come up and you claimed it, you can re-roll this die plus any number of dice in your wheelbarrow 1 time. And if it came up again, you'd be able to do the same thing again. So just to show you, that's one of the die face powers. And there's also trowels that show up on the dice that work just like a trowel, letting you plant a flower in the garden. All right, since it's the Master Gardener turn, I'm going to take a die and roll it. And I got myself a rosemary that worked out so well for me last time. All right, well, let's see here. I'd love to get similar dice. So I think I'm going to do is claim this card. All right, so I'll go ahead and I will claim this. Now I can use this tool, and I'm going to use this trowel to plant the forget-me-not that I've got here on this card. All right, so the last forget-me-not space, it's only 2 points, but 2 points is 2 points. And now I could potentially take my turn here. Both of the 2 point, let's see here. Let me think. I'm trying to think of how I want to best play this. So I'm kind of wondering, do I want to just put a pair of dice down here? I could put 2 single pairs, and that would get me 5 points. I can do 3 different herbs there. I could try to save up for this, which would be nice. Try to keep saving up some lavenders. I'd love to get those 12 points. So let's do that. I'm gonna keep these lavenders. I'm gonna go ahead and turn in these 2 rosemary to go into the pair there. All right, that's 1 pair. Those go back, and now the rival's gonna be putting their spots. This is that's 9 points for them. That may have been not smart by me to leave them that 9 points. But hey, it's too late. I've given it to them. And then here, I'm giving them 3 points here. So that was 12 points that I just gave to the rival. So that may not have been tactically a very good move by me. It's really only going to potentially pay off if I can get another 3 lavender here to claim that spot, because that was a very, very heavy point turn for the rival. All right, I'm going to flip it over to the assistant gardener. Looks like we've got, I think, maybe 2 rounds left. We're going to prepare the tool shed. No, actually, maybe 3 rounds. Looks like 3 rounds left. All right. Okay. So I haven't mentioned the watering can. The watering can power is you can trade 2 identical seeds to plant a flower. So it works similarly to the trowel. All right, so we've got 2 saffron here and a tarragon. And we've got a tarragon, a bay. Oh, and there's that power I was showing you. It finally came up on the dice. And here we've got a, wow. Unfortunately, right now, there are absolutely no lavenders up here, and I'm really looking for lavenders at this point. So let's see what the assistant gardener turn, oh, actually the rival turn. they're getting rid of this first card, so that one's going away. This is going to be coming, this bay is going to be coming into my wheelbarrow, so we get rid of this card, and we're going to be placing into the 4 spot of the difference, so there's 5 more points for the rival. That goes away, and now I'm going to choose one of these 2. Well, I tell you, this one is probably the way I'm going to go because I'd like to re-roll everything that's not lavender to see if I can pick it up. Actually, I'm going to keep this one because I can switch this, I think, to lavender. Yep, I can do that. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take this card, okay? These 3 dice go here. First thing I'm going to do is use the power of this card, which is going to be to switch this tarragon to any face I like, and so I'm going to switch that to lavender. Now, I'm going to use this die to re-roll it and any other dice I want in my wheelbarrow, which in this case are going to be the other 2 non-lavenders. And I'm hoping that 2 out of these 3 dice are lavenders. And how about 0 of those 3, huh? Well, you can't win them all. All right, these come into the wheelbarrow. The thing I can do, I can hedge my bet and just say, well, I'll go here and take this 5-point spot, but I tell you, I don't think I'm going to do it. I think I'm going to risk it. I think what I'm going to do is spend these 2 saffrons and go into this last 1 pair spot. Okay, and hope that I can get myself 2 more lavenders in these next 2 rounds before the AI can get a hold of them. So these go away. This gets away, and we flip over, and we are at the Master Gardener. This will be, I think, the last Master Gardener turn, and we're going to end on an Assistant Gardener turn. So let's prepare the tool shed. Here we go. This could be a powerful card because it can change any dice face into any other dice face. Okay. This is a good card for me because I have a rosemary sitting right here, so I can change that into a lavender. So this is promising. This is promising so far. All right, I've got a re-roll dice up here, so that's good. Saffron and a re-roll. Oh, didn't mention this one. This is any herb, so that's obviously good for me because I can turn that into a automatic lavender. Oh, this is a good one right here. Okay, so this is a really good one for me, although I wouldn't be able to keep all of them. All right, well, here's my thought here. I've got a couple of options. I think these 2 are clearly my options because if I were to take this one, I'm guaranteed to get this spot because I could ditch one of these dice, change this rosemary I've got sitting in my wheelbarrow to a lavender, make that a lavender. So that's a for sure. I can get it that way. Here, it really, yeah, I think this is the one to go for. I think this is the one to go for. So I go ahead and I take these dice. I have to get rid of 1 because I have to discard down to 7 before I do the tool card power. Now I'm going to do the tool card power, which is switching the rosemary to any color I like, or any face I like, which is going to be the lavender, obviously. And now I've got 5 showing, 1 wild. That puts me into the 6th spot there. And it even leaves me with 2 bay leaves for my last turn, which could potentially turn into something. All right, so let's see where the rival's going to go. The 4-point Black-Eyed Susan spot is already taken, so nothing's going to happen there. The 3-point differing pairs, well, I keep saying 3-point. I should say 3 spot, so 3 different pairs. There's 7 points for them. So they ended up getting 16 points just out of that part of the garden. So that's pretty good for them. All right. So those are all going to go away. All right. Now we're going to go to the final round. Flip it over to the Assistant Gardener. I'm sitting with 2 bay leaves. If I can get 2 more, I can go into that spot. That would be nice. All right, here we go. Let's prepare the tool shed. All right. All right, here we go. Well, there's another bay leaf, so that's good. However, that would have to be another bay leaf for me to be able to jump into that spot. So let's see what happens. Got a tarragon. Oh boy, 2 bay leaves right there. I think that's going to be pretty much a no-brainer. And then we've got a trowel. Okay, well, I may not have an option here because I'm on the assistant gardener turn and the rival is going to get the first shot. So can I get lucky again and have this spot sitting there waiting for me? We'll see. I've gotten lucky once and I got lucky again. All right, so this first card is going to be the one that is taken away. All right, and so that goes away. We're going to see if the differing pair spot, those are both taken, so that can't get a seed for them. I go ahead and place this lavender under my spot, and now I'm going to take my turn. I think this one is clearly where I want to go. I get myself those. Now, here's going to give me 4 points if I go there because I'll have 4 bay leaf. Let me just make sure there's no way. Oh, no, 5 points, sorry, because I'm going here. If I were to get 5 different, I can get 6 points. So 1, 2, 3. If I changed one of those, no, I definitely want to go here. Okay, so I'm not going to use that power. 1, 2, 3, and 4 is going to allow me to place right here. And then this is going to go away. Okay, now that is the end of the game, and we're going to go to final scoring. So the way this is going to work is that you score your VPs from the seeds out there on the board. Your lemonade, if you gained it, which I did, you'd have any set of 3 different herbs would get you 2 VPs, so I just missed because I have 2 different herbs. If you have a pair of herbs, that's 1 VP, so I'm not going to get anything there. And if you had a flower, that would get you 1 VP, and so I'm not going to get anything there. So my points are all coming from the board and from my lemonade. And the rival is going to be getting their points from the board solely, okay? So let me pause the camera here. I'm going to go ahead and get a calculator because my mathematical skills are frighteningly horrendous, and we'll come back and talk about the end game. Okay, with the benefit of a calculator, looks like I squeaked out a narrow victory. I show 57 points to 53 points for the rival. Very, very close, and you know that that lemonade card actually turned out to be very important because if that lemonade card had gone to them, that would have been, what, 55 each. And the AI, I believe, wins in a tie. So let me double check that, but I believe that the AI is going to win. Yeah, the rival wins in the case of a tie. So I told you, that lemonade card, you can't discount it, all right? Now, the way it works is that you've got a nice little chart here at the back where if you defeat the AI, you look at the number of points above their score to give yourself a little bit of a rate. So I won by, what, 4 points? And that gives me a beginning planter, which that sounds about right, okay? In real life, I would probably not be anywhere near that because my green thumb is pretty much horrendous. But there you have Herbaceous Sprouts. Hopefully you got a pretty good idea on how the game plays. It has some similarities to the card game, but it really goes, I believe, on a much deeper level than you see in the card game. Thank you. So there you have Herbaceous Sprouts, the dice game version of Herbaceous. And hopefully you got a good idea on how the game plays from that video. And you can see, if you're familiar with Herbaceous, the card game, this is a little bit more going on. In the card game, it's a very clean, simple set collection game, and that's great for what it is. It's small, it's portable, it plays very quickly. You can teach it to just about anybody. And while I think you can say much of the same thing about Herbaceous Sprouts, there's a bit more game there. Just the introduction of those special tool cards and the powers within those, and the vying for those different spots on the community garden. You had a little bit of that press your luck element, and where you might be both going for similar spots with your opponents in the card game, but I feel that's much more pronounced in the dice game version, and I appreciate that. It plays really, really smoothly. The AI opponent, as I think you can see, is really simple to administer, but there's some great decisions to make because you have to really think, what is best for me? Do I want these dice, or do I want to leave a particular spot for the AI? Sometimes I was giving up 15 points in a particular turn because I really was trying to go for a particular set of dice, or at a certain point there in the game I was fixated on getting that lemonade card, which turns out to be pretty important in that game, but that was because I had to pay attention to where the rival sprouts were going to be placed and the rival tokens, and that's a really great decision that you have to make. You can't just focus on what you're doing. What is the AI doing? Just through a simple flip of a card. And I also really like that there's really two phases with that Master Gardener and Assistant Gardener. They both play similarly, but the differences are pretty significant. As I mentioned, on the Master Gardener turn, you're going first, but the AI is getting 2 spots potentially on the community garden, whereas the other way, they're getting that first turn, and there's that kind of delicious agony of turning over that card and what are they going to be getting, and is it going to mess up my plans? And I got really quite lucky in this game that none of the times that I can think of did the AI take the card that I was really, really hoping for. I have in previous games had that happen multiple times during the game, and that can be really, really agonizing, but part of what you're looking for in a solo game. So, Herbaceous Sprouts, it's got the same beautiful artwork that you'd come to expect in this series. It plays really quickly, a sufficient challenge, but you're not having to spend too much brain power in administering the AI. You're just having to worry about how can I most efficiently take my turn. Thank you so much for your time, as always, for watching, and I hope you have a great day.